been a while since we've been in the studio together.
Many moons.
Many moons. It's been just a week for the viewers.
Yes, as normal.
But we're back in the real studio now. We're back.
We're back.
And we're back.
Thank God. Oh, goodness.
Welcome back to Quiet in the Back.
That's right.
I'm your host, Patrick William.
And I am Austin Jenny.
And we watched a classic.
A very much so all-time classic.
Like a straight-up banger.
Yeah, it was really good. First viewing for me. We saw what?
The good.
The bad.
And the ugly.
I'm the ugly.
1966.
That's crazy.
Directed by Sergio Leone, an Italian man.
Scary.
The godfather of the spaghetti western. That's why they're called that, because they were all made in Italy. And this one was filmed in Spain. But they were made by Italians.
Yes. Is spaghetti literally just because?
It's just a slur.
That's crazy. I had no idea. That's so funny. Huh.
No, they're called spaghetti westerns because they're westerns made by Italians, as distinct from westerns made by Americans in Hollywood.
Yes.
Which are sort of like the John Wayne 1950s era.
Yeah.
And then once you get into the 60s, you start getting these Italians pushing the envelope and
just doing a way better job.
Way better job. It's so much more artistic.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like fun, I feel like, they were taking themselves seriously, and that made the payoff significantly better.
Yeah. I had the impression while watching this, because we did recently watch Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which has a reputation of being like a classic Western. And this movie, first of all, just objectively blows that movie out of the water.
Not even a competition on this planet.
Like every aspect is better.
Yes.
But specifically, it takes the good, the bad, and the ugly, like takes itself seriously in ways that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid does not.
Yes, there's no surprise bicycle Gary
musical
Newman song,
montage.
The fuck.
There's no weird, like campy, like samba interlude,
or like weird three thruples going on.
it's just a better, serious Western movie.
It's a good old fashioned Western.
The directing is insanely good.
Top notch. Every shot is so thoughtful and just thought provoking too.
Right. You can tell that the shot composition for every single moment is like so thoroughly vetted. The angle, the field of view,
the lighting.
Yeah, like where each person is standing in the frame to create depth. There's so much depth in these shots.
Seriously, there really is.
That one shot where they're introducing the bad, and he was like leaning against the door frame far away, and the man that he is like seeing for the first time in a while is sitting at his kitchen table.
Yeah, just slowly walking up.
He's walking in and getting bigger and bigger and bigger in the frame because they're shooting with a wide lens.
Yeah.
So there's just so much depth. That's just one example, but every single shot in this movie is like meticulously crafted to that degree.
Absolutely. Man, and you don't even hear a word for the first like almost 11 minutes, right?
We noticed that there was no talking in the first few scenes, and so the first utterance of dialogue, we paused it and clocked it. 10 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's crazy.
Before there's a single piece of dialogue in this movie.
That doesn't happen today.
That does not happen. I think it's really cool because it didn't need it.
At all. It was just telling its story through the visual medium.
Yeah, like so much like unspoken tension.
Dude, the facial expressions are such great acting. Holy shit. Like really impressive, dude.
Just eye contact between characters. Small like micro expressions, and then the camera cuts back and you see the reaction. It just tells its own story. You don't need the characters to like, the modern Netflix approach is like the characters have to say what they're doing.
Yeah, all the time.
Because Netflix assumes people are dumb as shit and they need to be explained to. This movie takes like the opposite approach where you can just sort of like tell what's going on without anything being spoken. It's almost like reminiscent of like the silent film era where It's all based on like what's in the frame, how the people are moving, the eye contact.
I would totally agree with that. I mean, yeah, you mentioned it while you're watching it. Like, you could watch this movie with zero sound and for sure get the whole plot.
But you shouldn't watch it with zero sound because this has one of the most iconic soundtracks of all time.
Yeah, really good.
So that's composer Ennio Morricone, a legend. And you mentioned that he actually created a lot of this music before the movie was done, and that Sergio Leone filmed some of these scenes to the music.
Yeah, to the score.
Which is dope as fuck.
That's so crazy. Like, I can't even begin to fathom approaching that.
Right? Like, he was so intimately connected to the soundtrack. And then once you hit the editing room, they're doing all these things where, like, they're using the sounds to punctuate the moments.
Which is awesome. You know, that's just
So
great
cool.
filmmaking.
Like, what's the Ugly's name? Tuco. He's like, kills a guy he has his gun in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Shoots him from under the bubbles. And he's like, when you have to shoot. Don't talk. And then it's like, just like these moments, they become so much more legendary because of that use of music.
Yeah, definitely. And just such like iconic and different sounds too, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like almost like there's a lot of like pitched weirdly like coyote howls and stuff like that.
A lot of whips and gunshots in the music.
Almost like what's a mouth harp is pretty often.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't remember 100%, so don't quote me on this, but I think that Ennio Morricone recorded the soundtrack in a cathedral in Italy.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It's all recorded in the same cathedral-based studio they set up, and that's how they get the very unique sort of like reverberation on all their guitars and stuff.
That would make a lot of sense for
and
sure.
Actually, yeah, I know that's true because I remember... do you know DJ Danger Mouse?
That sounds so familiar. Why does that
He
sound so
did
familiar?
Gnarls Barkley with CeeLo Green.
Oh, yeah.
He's the producer behind Gnarls Barkley and many other things, not to sell him short. He has a project it's like a kind of like an indie super group with like Nora Jones and maybe Jack White.
Yeah.
I might be mixing some things up, but
what's it called? That sounds so familiar.
It's called Rome.
Huh.
And the reason it's called Rome is because they recruited Ennio Morricone to be their engineer. Hey guys, Patrick here. This is just a quick correction. I believed at the time that it was Ennio Morricone, but it was actually a different composer named Daniele Lupi. However, musicians from the soundtrack of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly were featured in this project, and the music from the film did inspire parts of the project. But Ennio Morricone was not the composer recruited for Rome. It was Daniele Lupi. Sorry for the mistake. You will hear me say it a few more times, but just know that it's a different composer. Same idea, though. Okay, enjoy the rest of the episode. In his like 80s or 90s. Like, they recruited, they made this in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Or 2010s, recruited Ennio Morricone and recorded the whole album in the same cathedral that they made this soundtrack in.
Bro, that's so hard.
It's a Western-themed album called Rome, and you gotta check it out.
I will 1,000%
Really
be listening to
badass.
that on my way home.
Anyways,
so cool.
we're fully sidetracked because I'm a music nerd.
Good.
But yeah, music in this movie, I mean, it deserves talking about it for like 15 minutes. It's like one of the biggest parts of the movie experience.
I mean, hyper recognizable.
Yeah.
Every one of you, no matter if you've seen this movie or not, has heard some version of those sounds.
Right.
That's
It's to the point that like probably every cartoon show in the 90s, like Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, has like put some of these sounds into parody moments.
Yeah.
Like it's probably one of the most parodied.
Yeah.
How do you say that? Past tense parody.
Parodied.
Parodied. Like soundtracks in movie history. It's up there with like Star Wars probably.
And like the Wilhelm scream or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's just like God, so recognizable. Like you the first time you hear the doo-doo-doo, it's just like, oh, I'm back. I'm home.
Yeah. So a couple fun things that are in this movie that I just think are pretty cool. The freeze frame intro.
Yeah.
Each character gets like a freeze frame.
Yeah. The ugly.
And I think in 1966 that was pretty innovative.
I bet.
I mean, I'm completely unqualified to make this statement, but
we'll make it anyways.
The first use of freeze frame intros, like the ugly, there's like these three guys, they go into a saloon to go kill him.
Yeah.
And you just see the three guys go in the front door, and then immediately one guy jump out the window, and it freezes on him jumping out the window, and it's like the ugly.
Yeah, he has a fucking like chicken leg,
Yeah,
like half
huge
eaten.
drumstick.
Yeah.
And a gun.
Yeah.
And then the camera shows you what's on the inside, and all those guys are dead. Mm-hmm. So he killed him, jumped out the window, but it's just that iconic freeze frame, and I just thought that was like so fun. And each of the three main characters get one of those.
Yeah, it's a great way to introduce your character in general, like in this sense, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, modern movies do that a lot when they're kind of campy. Like Guy Ritchie does that a lot, like Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrels, that type of stuff. But, you know, in 1966, that was probably brand new.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's awesome. It seems like this movie was pretty, like, revolutionary in a lot of ways.
Cutting edge,
Yeah.
like editing, directorial choices. One example of that is the field of view of these cameras controls like what is actually happening in the reality of the film, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like you get a lot of point of view shots where Sergio will show you a character's eyes. They'll sort of like look a direction, then the camera will go that direction and you'll see what the character sees.
Yeah.
And then it'll like cut back to the character. And he's using like the extreme close-up as a way of like withholding information.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So we can't see anything that the character can't see. But the character can't see anything that Sergio isn't putting in frame.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of examples of like two characters walking down a path and all of a sudden a third character like enters the frame of the camera and that's the moment that they notice him.
Yeah.
Where if you think about the actual like physical setup of that scene in real life, they would have seen this character approaching from down the path.
Yeah, like for like a while.
Like
Yeah.
it's an unobstructed pathway.
Yeah, but it's just he steps into view and they're like,
yeah,
there he
the
is.
moment that we get to get the information,
Yeah.
the character gets the information.
No, it's super unique and really fun.
Yeah. It's like kind of campy and like tongue in cheek. It's
Yeah.
like Sergio is playing with the medium of film in a really fun way. He's not necessarily being like hyper realistic.
Yeah.
He's just being artistic.
But, you know, and he balances that with taking it still so seriously. You know? Like,
Right. It's not comedic.
Yeah, if he was to do that and like be, you know, breaking the fourth wall a little bit with it and, you know, try to be jokey.
Right. Do some dumb slide with whistle like, woo.
Yeah.
That's what they would have done in Butch Cassidy.
For sure.
You know, be some dumb like cowbell, like, ding, 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 ding. Like, where'd you come from, Cassidy? Like, it's like they played that as a comedy, whereas this does some goofy things with the camera,
Yeah.
but in like a straight up serious way.
Yeah.
And it's like
Huge payoff.
your brain just buys it.
Absolutely.
It's completely like believable in the context of what you're watching.
Yeah, especially if you're not like analyzing each scene, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like you're just watching it to have a good time. Oh man, yeah, it really makes the movie a little bit more exciting, I think.
Yeah, very cool. Like when all those cannons are firing and, you know, they're cutting between shots of these different cannons.
Yeah.
But like every third shot zooms in and then every other third shot zooms out.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you have like one straight shot, a crash zoom, a zoom out.
Straight shot.
And it's just like, it's so funny kind of. And like, it almost like takes you into like a Bugs Bunny-esque kind of a world.
Yeah, it is a little bit cartoonish occasionally in that sense. I totally agree with you.
But not because of anything the characters are doing or like the way that anything is being acted or soundtracked.
No, it's just the filmmaking.
Just the filming style is like
Like when Tuco was running in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. And it's fucking just like, it's like almost on like, what even was
spinning.
that? I don't even know how they shot that. It's so
like,
strange.
Yeah, man. Like Tuco is perfectly in focus.
Yeah.
And the camera's tracking him, like panning, tracking him as he runs in a circle.
Yeah.
But like the background is like blurring out so hard.
Yeah. And distorting and kind of melting into each other. It was super, almost a little trippy.
Yeah, it was. It was very disorienting. And I think it did a good job of like showing you what it must feel like inside of Tuco's brain in that moment. He's so overwhelmed by the opportunity to get this gold.
Yeah.
And he's so like frantic.
Such a greedy bastard anyways too, you know. He's literally like minutes away from being gotten by the good.
Yeah.
You know.
The man with no name.
That's right.
Played by Clint Eastwood, by the way.
Who didn't want to do this movie.
Just did it for the money. We found that out.
Yep, and he actually had some specific demands. He wanted $250,000. He wanted a brand new Ferrari and 10% of total profit.
That greedy bastard.
That is crazy.
He was not interested in doing this movie for artistic reasons. Didn't give a crap.
But he did still do a good job in the movie.
Yeah, he
which
didn't
I
phone
respect.
it in. He didn't phone it in.
I certainly respect that.
And they did 3 of these movies. So, you know, it was a big commitment.
Yeah. Apparently, also, he really didn't like working with Leone.
Really?
Yeah. He had like some pretty big qualms with him. And
Is he racist?
I don't, probably.
I feel like
Right.
Clint Eastwood has some questionable racial views based on his later
He said it was
works.
because of the chaotic sets, though,
Really?
specifically. Yeah.
And it was probably chaotic a bit because you've got multi like ethnic like production crew. Like you've got Spanish people, Italian people, and Americans.
Yeah. And
they don't speak the same languages. So you've got translators.
yeah, that would probably be really annoying. And I mean, speaking of which, it cost a pretty huge fuck up. The giant bridge scene that the Confederates and the Union is fighting over.
They have a classic scene where they like apply a bunch of dynamite to the bridge and blow it up.
Yeah. They blew it up a day early with no cameras rolling
during the production.
So they enlisted help of the Spanish army to rebuild it in one night so they could do it the next day. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, we accidentally blew up the bridge for real and did not film it. Can you rebuild that real quick so we can blow it up again? That's so stupid.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy how much like support they got from like the Spanish army and locals too. I mean, they like built that entire graveyard from scratch, 5,000 graves. 5,000. Yeah.
Huge space.
Yeah, huge.
Really cool though, like concentric circles with like an open center. That's where the classic the Mexican standoff takes place. So dope, man. The directing style, dude.
Dude, that's how you do Face Off right.
Yeah.
the camera switching.
Dude, just cutting between shots, up close shots of the guns, and then like extreme close ups of the eyes.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Just like the hand just crawling forward a little bit. Oh, man. All the while, this dope ass music is getting more and more intense.
Epic music. That's a really good example, that scene, of like what I wrote down in my notes as slow filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think this movie, you know, clocking in at 3 full hours.
Woo! Yeah, no shit.
It's not really like, I don't really have a problem with the pacing.
No.
I don't actually have a problem with this at all. It's just slow. It's a slow style.
It's a beautiful slow burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The direction is not rushed. It's like every shot has so much time for you to absorb it, for you to feel its impact.
Yeah. I mean, it helps so much with the world building. It really feels like you're in there with them in this dirty, grimy, brutal place, you know?
Yeah. But like that Mexican standoff scene at the end, like technically, like nothing is happening. Like basically nothing is. They're just seeing each other stand in a distance and then just like watching each other's hands to see who's going to pull their gun first.
Yeah.
But it lasts for like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. They
like
really...
long minutes where like you're just seeing these long 10-15 second shots of like eyes, extreme close up of eyes, like looking at other eyes.
Yeah.
And then a hand on gun. And it just builds the tension. And then it makes the payoff like so much better.
Yeah. And it's like, it also doesn't overstay its welcome either. Like there was never a point where like, even though it was like a pretty long and drawn out scene, you know, and it was like a good slow burn, I didn't ever feel like, okay, let's go, like wrap this shit up.
Right.
It was like I'm still like drawn in by the choice of shot that they took and the colors of everything.
Because the beauty, it's like truly so beautiful.
Yeah, truly.
Quentin Tarantino said that this is the best directed movie of all time.
Yeah, which is
it's hard to argue.
Yeah, really.
The camera work, like the qualities of the compositions, it's like you're looking at a series of great paintings.
Yeah.
And how can you get mad at that? Like
yeah.
I could go to like the Museum of Modern Art and walk around for 3 hours, no problem, and actually see like a lot less art per minute than just by watching this movie.
Yeah,
you know,
no kidding.
The music, the expression of the actors, the shot composition, it's glorious.
It really is.
So yeah, it's slow, but it's like righteously slow. Like it earned its 3 hours.
Absolutely. The time doesn't detract from the movie at all.
Yeah.
Not at all for me. I'll happily watch a 3-hour movie if it can hold my attention like that the whole time.
Right. And then to like compound on that, the story is actually very simple. It's very minimal. So it's not like you're watching 3 hours of like a Marvel movie where like 4 movies worth of content has been jammed in, and it's like this rapid fire editing, and every scene is advancing the plot in like incredible ways. In this movie,
how this works.
Like you'll watch for like 20 minutes before the plot is progressed by an event.
Yeah.
You know?
Pretty much,
and it's just 20 minutes of like slow burn scenes of like Tuco walking Blondie through the desert, and his lips are getting more and more chapped as he gets more and more dehydrated.
Yeah.
And he's washing his feet and torturing him.
Yeah, it just shows like the more realistic progression of time, essentially. You know, throughout each of these like little adventures that happen throughout the movie. It is very much so like you're seeing the more real way shit had to get done. Like, yeah, he walked him 100 miles through the desert. And it takes a fucking while. You're not just skipping through it. This isn't the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones sort of shit. You know?
You're not just teleporting to where you need to be for plot reasons. It's like if you're gonna walk from Santa Fe to West Texas,
that's gonna take a while.
It's gonna take the movie 2 hours to make that happen. Like in the scene where they're gonna blow up that bridge with all the dynamite, Sergio Leone shows them pick up the box of explosives. Take it to a location where there's a man on a gurney. Remove the man from the gurney. Load the box onto the gurney. Take the gurney down the hill. Walk again to the bridge. Unload the box. Manually place each
every
piece
single
of dynamite.
one.
They move from section to section to section. You see it all. It takes like 12 minutes.
And then that payoff.
And then they blow up the bridge.
And it's
like,
huge.
And the whole time they're kind of like talking, and there's sounds and there's explosions in the background. You're never like bored or like wondering why you're seeing what you're seeing. It's never like that. It's just they don't rush you through it. They just show you all the steps that are required for this to take place.
I mean, it's a great way to not necessarily like extend a story, but just to like fully realize a story.
Yeah, but if you want a 3-hour runtime, that's how you get it.
100%.
Stretch shit out. Quit cutting around in the editing room. Right?
No shit.
You don't need to cut it all out.
And speaking of the editing room, another crazy part of this movie is that it was all pretty much the audio was done in post through dubbing. Most of the people who were on set were speaking it in their native language.
I think it was originally recorded in Italian. The like main release audio of this is Italian, and then there's like the English version that's like made. But none of the audio that they recorded was synchronized to the film. I don't know if they didn't have the technology or if it just wasn't available widely enough in Italy and Spain at the time, but they filmed without synchronizing audio. So I do think some audio was captured on location occasionally. And if they were lucky that it was like easy to synchronize, they would use it. But everything in this movie is done in post.
The far majority. So there is occasional times like it's not bad if you're not watching it with dubs. It's like pretty hard to notice. But if you are watching it with you're with subs,
Yeah.
if you're watching it with subs though, there's a couple times specifically like when Tuco's talking in the beginning,
The mouth
where
doesn't
it's
line
pretty,
up.
it's pretty unmatched. But
Yeah.
it
But
doesn't.
even for Clint Eastwood, like all the dialogue was re-recorded in post.
Yeah.
Every single character recorded all their dialogue in post, and then they added it in.
Mm-hmm.
They did all the sound effects. So every single time that like a door opens and creaks,
Yeah.
that's some guy doing Foley sound in the studio.
That's so fucking
Every
badass.
footstep hitting the ground, they're matching the texture. So they're like, I need a dusty foot. We're going to do 7 dusty footprints. Then he steps on the wood, and now we need creaky footsteps and more thud. It's like these Foley recording engineers are badass.
That's just truly such a masterful thing to do. Like
Yeah.
I don't, man, I would love to do that sort of thing. That sounds so interesting and fun, trying to match different sounds,
Right.
different textures and materials. Oh,
I've done like Foley recording just for fun and not applying it to film, just because I'm a sound guy and I just like playing with microphones and stuff. So like I've tried to just record like metal clinking and like water drops and stuff, and the amount of like precision that you need to like achieve certain tonal qualities and like to change the characteristics,
yeah.
man, to like actually match that to things in video and then have it feel natural or like not match with what you're seeing.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's master level.
Yeah.
And yes, there's some times in this movie where like the thud is a little clunky. Maybe it's a little loud or something or muffled, but like 95% of that Foley work is perfect.
Absolutely. And it's got to be so much harder when you're doing it for a like in real life movie, essentially. Because a lot of Foley work, I understand, is generally done for a lot of animated movies and such,
For sure.
But, like there's so much less of a margin of error, I feel like.
Yeah. But I mean, all the modern movies too, they're recording in the scene for sure to get all the dialogue and stuff. But like they're still adding all the Foley stuff for modern TV shows and movies. Like they're still adding footsteps. Yeah. It's never that crystal clear and there's never that much bass in the footstep or whatever.
Yeah, true.
From like the on-scene mics. The sword clangs, like all that shit. Foley is a huge aspect of filmmaking, but the fact that this movie is almost all Foley, including all the dialogue, that's
60 years ago.
Right, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
Such a chore.
Yeah.
But they kind of crushed it. At first you do notice like the audio of the voices not matching the lips. But once your brain kind of just like accepts that that's happening, it's pretty easy to just like move past it.
Oh, you fall right out.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
You just accept it, and the movie's great.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to see a vision of America during the Civil War.
Oh, totally true. Yeah, I mean, very unique. There's not many movies that I've seen that really do that very well. Have you seen Free State of Jones?
Nope.
Me neither. I want to. Me neither.
I feel like a lot of movies that show the Civil War are Civil War movies.
Yeah.
So they're like focusing on
Definitely
the war. And when you're watching a war movie, it's a very different context and like framing of events than when you're just watching a movie where that's not the focus, but it's just something that's taking place.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see these impartial characters. Like these guys don't care about the Union or the Confederacy.
Yeah, they don't care who wins or anything. Like
These are drifters and criminals. They're just like in the frontier. And the Confederate army will just like pass through dragging cannons. And then there will be like a bartender who's like, the Union's coming and the Confederates know it. That's why they're getting out of here. And it's just like this sort of background element to their lives that is such an interesting dynamic to live through.
Yeah.
While not participating directly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Although they do get dragged into it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that happened quite a bit, honestly. Yeah, it's such an interesting time period in general to like think about too. It would be so hard to live back then.
For so many reasons.
So many reasons, like let alone sanitation and just general filthiness of everything, like actually surviving.
The lack of showers and soap and bathing and socks.
Ew, dude.
When Tuco washes his feet and then he puts his wet feet back directly into his cowboy boots with no socks, I cringed. I'm like, dude, you're not going to dry those off?
You got to dry those dogs.
If you're not going to have a sock, at least like a little foot powder.
Yeah, right.
Like the wet foot in the leather
Imagine
boot.
the stink and the
rubbing, the friction,
the
calluses that his feet must be suffering from.
Yeah, or they're just like hard, scaly things at this point.
And when he gets out of the bath and then he
he's
puts his
covered in
clothes on,
soap and water still.
It's covered in bubbles, like soapy water, and then he just puts his clothes on without drying off. No towel.
The amount of discomfort that would cause me is unparalleled.
Just soapy, wet shirt, like a clinging to your back.
No, dude.
These guys are so sweaty, so greasy, probably smell like ass.
Dude, they gotta smell so bad. Everyone in the like old Western days had to smell so bad.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Whew. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting how these characters can sort of like not care that much that there's a civil war going on.
Yeah.
Like it's like today we just live in such like an information rich world and we're all so connected, even though we kind of are in these disparate information bubbles that social media has created. We're still like info rich and like there's like this meta narrative about America that we all grew up with. We all have like this sort of vision of our country, of where we're at in its like lineage and the progress of history. Like these people just like don't really have that.
They don't have the luxury to even think about that, for one.
I mean, they can't, most of them can't even read.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have historical context.
No.
They just have like this little snapshot that they're living through.
Yeah.
Confederacy's coming across. Union's chasing them out. Like they don't know what that means for like the future of America. No, they're not invested.
No. Why would they be? They're trying to get their next meal and make their next buck.
And it's interesting, even like the soldiers, even the captains, they don't seem very like ideologically driven.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that they're being...
it's just like something to do, and they're being paid for their time by the different governments. You never really see a character who's like, the Union must prevail to defeat slavery, and like...
There's no sense of like individual nationalism, really.
Right, the nationalism or like the sense that like you're fighting for some sort of like clear vision of a future for America.
No, you just got your job is to kill those guys.
Yeah, it's just like it was a very interesting way of looking at it that I feel like we don't live that way anymore. We don't think about history that way anymore.
No, not at all. And everyone's a drunk too. Like pretty much everybody.
That one drunk captain.
Yeah, man, he's really a drunk.
He's like, this, holding the bottle. This is an army's most important weapon. He's like, whichever side has more alcohol to fuel their troops and send them out to die is the side that wins.
That's so crazy.
He's like, the one thing that both armies have in common is we reek of alcohol. They're just all drunk all the time.
That's so wild. The Civil War is so interesting, too. I mean, because a lot of those people were probably related, you know?
Yeah.
All sorts of shit.
Totally. Especially, like, the West was a weird slice because it was, like, you know, not that important, all things considered. It was sort of like the final afterthoughts of the Civil War. Like, okay, let's go clean up the frontier territories or whatever. But like the main war, the bulk of it happened in like the East Coast.
For sure.
And that's where you had like brothers fighting brothers, one state away.
Yeah.
And I feel like the war over there was like more ideological.
For sure.
But by the time it gets out to the West, it's just like mercenaries.
Well, I mean, they're in just literally territories at this point.
Right. These aren't even states that vote. They're just like the West.
Yeah. Yeah, it was only 34 states at the time of the Civil War. 12 of them seceded.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, what a different world.
Yes, sir, in a lot of ways.
What did you think about the interaction between Tuco and his priest brother?
Oh, it was very interesting.
Do you want to set that up for the listener?
Yeah. So this is like after the back and forth between the good, or the man who has no name, Clint Eastwood, and Tuco. They keep betraying each other and leaving each other to die. And then we have this situation where they each find out half of the information about where $200,000 in gold is.
Right. So Tuco is like forced to now like work with him.
Exactly.
Instead, because he was like torturing him.
Yeah, for sure. He was making him walk 100 miles through the desert.
But he brings him to this like parish, or like it's like a priest building, like a medical building.
Yeah, essentially. Like almost like a church that's just being used for both sides of the armies as an infirmary.
Yeah, really. It's an infirmary.
Yeah. And he knows about it because we find out that his brother is a priest there.
He's the padre.
Yeah.
Father.
And it's super, super interesting. You know, it's some of the dialogue between them like kind of makes sense. Tuco saying we had two choices when we were young, either become a bandit or a priest, and you chose yours, I chose mine.
So the conversation starts out, and the priest is chastising Tuco for being absent for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
Mother died years ago.
Yeah. Father
died just a few days ago, and you missed his funeral. He wished you were there, but it was only me. Mm-hmm. And he says something like, what are you doing? Are you just still doing the evil that I know you do? And basically is moralizing against him and looking down on him for his life choices, from a place of like holier than thou.
Yeah.
Like quite literally. Yeah. The perspective of a priest judging the actions of a criminal. And then Tuco like sort of checks him. He was like, when you grew up where we grew up, in the poverty that we grew up in, brother, you only had two choices: become a bandit or become a priest.
Yeah.
You chose to become a priest.
You left first. He left first.
You left first to become a priest, and I stayed back and took care of our parents. Mm-hmm. I was only 12 or even 10. And I'm the one who held things down while you got your training to be a priest. And then I couldn't make it work and had to become a bandit to support the family.
Yeah.
And he's like, my path was harder.
Yeah.
And he justifies himself basically because his brother took the easy way out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really disagree with Tuco.
Well, and at the end of that scene, the priest asks Tuco for forgiveness.
Yeah.
He says, "Forgive me, brother."
Yeah.
And I just thought like there was a beautiful irony, like a poetic justice there of a priest asking a bandit for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it struck me as a sort of a one of a kind scene in the movie. Like no other scene in this movie moralizes in that way.
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
It's like the only moment that the story writers are giving you to like think about the actions of your characters. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was an interesting way of like looking at people's choices in terms of like survival, what's easy, what's hard, not in terms of like what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
Like what do you have to do and how difficult was your path to walk. Mm-hmm. It's easy to moralize someone when you've had like an easy life that allows you to do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have the luxury of being able to like, you know, you've been fed on a regular basis for the past 9 years, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you can easily judge him and look down on him like that. But yeah, that's a rough one too, you know?
Yeah. The only moral scene really in the movie, and I think it made a case for like morality as a gray in-between thing that's not hyper judgeable.
Yeah.
Where you have to kind of take in the broader context of someone's whole life and you can't just judge like one action.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, you gotta, it eventually becomes you gotta do what you gotta do to survive,
right.
You know.
It's about survival
provide
first.
for your family. And
now that said, what do you think about the actions of Blondie, a.k.a. the good?
Now that is a whole different argument.
Because he does not strike me as very good.
He's not really that good. Yeah, I would guess. I mean, to the people that are generally good to him, that like never did him wrong, he is good to them, it seems.
Except for Tuco.
Well, yeah, but Tuco's also a dirty criminal.
Tuco's a scumbag, but
he didn't
within the context of their working relationship.
Yeah.
They were partners. They were running a bounty scam.
Yeah.
Where Tuco has a bounty. Blondie turns him in for the bounty and then saves him at the last minute from being executed.
And
then they split the bounty.
Yeah.
And they do this a few times. And then on the last time, Blondie just straight up betrays Tuco, walks him out to the desert. He's still tied up, right?
Yeah.
And then he says, you know, I think our relationship is over. You're never going to be worth more than $3,000. I'm moving on.
And then takes his money.
He takes all the money.
Yeah.
He leaves Tuco with no horse, no water, no hat.
In the desert.
And says, town is 70 miles back that way. I think a man like you can manage, and just rides away.
Yeah, that is pretty demented.
I mean, that's murder.
It is.
That's attempted murder.
It is for sure.
And it's a complete betrayal of trust.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that qualifies him as good.
I don't know why he did that other than just greed.
He's a son of a bitch.
Yeah, he is.
And he is also committing fraud and he's like assaulting sheriffs and stuff. He's shooting their hats off.
True.
He's not intending to hurt them, but like he's still shooting his gun at the lawmakers of these towns.
Yeah. He does put...
He's a full-blown criminal.
He does put his jacket on that one dying guy and give him a smoke.
And he saves people when it counts. Like,
yeah.
But he's not a good man.
I mean, maybe... I guess he's the best out of all of them.
Yeah.
Which is, rough, but maybe that's just also a play on, like, how shitty you had to be. Yeah. It's like, this is a good guy back then. Right. This fucking criminal.
This guy. Yeah, I just thought it was, it's just interesting that the movie sort of presents this dichotomy. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly, where good is obviously opposed to bad. They introduce the characters. You know, Clint Eastwood is handsome and blonde hair, tall and
steely eyes,
elegant. And then the bad is like sniveling mustache, dark greasy hair, squinty eyes. Like there's this stereotypical portrayal of these two men as like good and bad. And then immediately the good guy is just like not that good.
Yeah. And the bad guy, the bad guy is really bad.
Bad guy's bad. And he's more bad than either of the other two.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, just like it was interesting to me that they present the dichotomy and then they don't go like all the way with it.
Yeah.
They just like immediately undercut the goodness of the good.
Yeah.
And have him just not be that good.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, I don't really know.
He's not like a white knight, you know. He's not like a counterpart to the bad.
No.
He's just not as bad as the bad.
Yeah, it's like the bad, the worst, and the ugly. It's kind of what it should be.
Yeah, and the ugly is like he's not good, but he's not like evil. He's just like self-centered.
It depends on if you want to take all of the crimes he's accused of as fact, because he's pretty evil. I mean, he's
pretty evil. He's a rapist and a murderer.
Yeah.
That's
pretty bad.
Yeah, he's a bad person, actually.
And if Clint Eastwood knows about this doesn't care.
Clint Eastwood is
that's
very
also
bad
just
too.
Bad.
These are three bad men.
Yes, it's just the bad, and the bad.
They're all just fighting each other for treasure. Too.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
The motivation of all three men is to get rich.
Yep, it is just pure greed.
Yeah. This movie should be called The Bad, Bad, and Bad.
Bad.
Three bad pigs.
Oh, that's so silly.
Some good quotes.
Oh, yeah.
I already said one, when you have to shoot, don't talk. Another one that I really liked at the end. Oh, and this is just more evidence that he's kind of a bad guy. And this is not nice. He looks at Tuco, who has an unloaded gun. And he says, there's two kinds of people, those with loaded guns and those who dig. And he hands him a shovel and he's like, dig.
Dig.
Like, okay, you're just going to overlord me because you have a weapon and I don't.
Yep, definitely.
Yep, it's the power of the West.
Yeah, that's right. Got them revolvers.
Might makes right. That's a pretty good quote, though.
Yeah.
He says that while wearing the iconic poncho.
That was pretty badass.
I feel like the only reason he gave that one dying soldier his
Just so
trench
he could
coat.
get the poncho. He's like, well, now look at here.
It's like, that's a pretty badass poncho, but I can't wear both coats. So I'm going to give you, technically he was burdening that dying soldier with his jacket.
The weight of it.
So that he could load up on a cooler poncho.
Look at this drip that I found.
He slings the poncho over his shoulder and pulls the gun out at the end. So iconic.
Yes, it is.
What a fashion statement.
It really is. What do you make of Tuco's weird gun thing?
His obsession with like the parts.
Yeah.
I think that was just cool. And it was just the director's way of showing us that Tuco is still like a force to be reckoned with. Like,
okay, yeah. He is a hell of a shot.
yeah. He's essentially like he's portrayed as being equally competent of a shot as the other two.
Yeah, I guess that's totally
and
fair.
I think that scene is like how the director shows you that. He basically goes into this gun shop or general store or whatever, and he takes all of like the best guns out, and then he checks each part individually for like the tolerances. He's like listening to the click of the revolver barrels, the chambers, and he's like looking down the barrel for straightness, and he makes a Franken gun.
Totally.
He like combines multiple different parts to create like the perfect weapon.
Yeah.
And then he goes out back and shoots the targets like perfectly.
Yeah.
He spins them with the first shot and splits them down the middle.
Yeah. That's pretty fucking sweet.
So he's a badass.
He is. He is a badass. That same scene where he's like talking to the fucking the shopkeeper or whatever, and he's like, "So how much?" He's like, $20. And he looks at him,
points the gun. He's like, no.
How much?
And it slowly dawns on the shopkeeper that he's not asking, how much do you want for the guns? He's asking, how much do you have in the register? And he's like, 50. He's like, how much? 200.
Oh my God.
That's such a good sort of like, again, it's like unspoken. There's just this like implication.
It's like, I'm about to do violence on you.
Yeah. The shopkeeper just like gets it by tone, and the conversation changes, like 20, 50, 200. You don't have to like say what your intentions are. And I think that's like, Tuco is doing that in the scene, but that's kind of like happening in the whole movie. The director is doing that scene to scene.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to have the character tell you what's happening because the blocking is so good. The compositions are so good. You could watch it with the sound off and understand what you're seeing.
But never do that.
You'll miss the music.
Oh, yeah, man. Fucking excellent.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give this 10 out of 10.
It's a 10 for you. It's a 10 for me.
It's a tenner.
I mean, it's just so, it lived up and surpassed every aspect of the hype that I could have imagined.
Yeah.
Like,
this is like what you kind of expect to experience with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, just based on like reputation.
Yes, and then you don't get that at all.
No, you get it here.
Yes, you do.
We should definitely be watching the other two movies in this trilogy.
Yeah,
like,
Fistful of Dollars and the other one.
I don't know the third one. I can't remember. But yeah, they made three. It's Clint Eastwood and Sergio Leone and Ennio Morricone. All three of them are on all three. So
nice.
It's like a team effort.
Yeah, it's called the Dollars Trilogy.
Dollars Trilogy.
Yeah. With
the man with no name. They never name this character. They just call him different things like Blondie and stuff. But
yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, that's like a near perfect movie. It's pretty much perfect for the time period and the grace that I give them for that. It's like,
yeah, I'm gonna totally overlook the dubbing audio
100%,
not matching the lips.
Whatever.
It doesn't negatively impact my viewing experience.
Yeah,
like at all.
No.
I think that Like Tarantino said, this is like probably one of the best directed films I've ever seen in terms of like shot composition, camera movement when it matters, use of different camera techniques very deliberately to achieve specific goals.
I just can't believe it was made in 66.
So cutting edge.
That's so crazy. I mean, it could have easily, you could tell me that was like a 1975, 1977 movie, and I'd be like, yeah.
Pioneering the extreme close-up shots where it's like above the nose just to the eye. Like no one's doing that. The level of quality in the music and the like closeness of the music with the directing. Like I'm not sure I've seen another film that is like where the music and the directing and the editing is so intertwined in a natural way.
It makes such a big difference too, man. It's so rewarding.
It's like such a holistic piece of art where all the elements like came together correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Fucking big
Beautiful.
W.
Big W.
10. I loved it. I want some more of it.
Now, just like Clint Eastwood said, the next episode, I'm only going to do it if you give me $250,000.
A brand new Ferrari.
And I want 10% of the publishing on this podcast.
Hopefully a little bit more than 10%.
Wait, does that mean I'm yielding 90% to you? I already have that. I'm a terrible negotiator.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, yeah, please click that subscribe button. Share this with your friends and family.
Comment, like, share.
You know the drill. Yeah.
And thanks for watching to the very end. This has been
Quiet in the Back.
Stand with dust in their eye. Sergio Leone is a legend who can never die. We record in audio and post a second time. It was 1966 and the music was divine. Hand, but his actions prove that he's no good man. The ugly has a brother who was also a priest, but he took the easy path instead of being a beast. Gold coins glimmer, it calls their names. The ugly man is hanging, the good man saves. Shots ring out through the desert, they chasing all three of these men are actually A Mexican standoff is tense and slow. Each man watches and feels the wind blow. The sun beats down, a clock that ticks. Three shadows move in the dust they kick. No trust, no mercy, just